All right, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. On today's episode, you'll notice that my demeanor is not the way it usually is. I was cold, I was tired, and I didn't want to do this twice. The story goes about 6 months ago, I replaced my rear differential and I did 2 rear CV axles. Well, in 12,000 miles, the CV axles are already toast. Covered by Advanced Auto Parts warranty, they gave me 2 new ones, no questions asked. But again, no one's paying me to replace them. They gave me the new part, great, but you know, now I gotta do it myself again. So today's video, I've seen 2 others on YouTube on how to do this procedure, but none of them covered the way that I learned how to do while shooting the footage in today's video. So you just follow my lead, you can save yourself probably 45 minutes to an hour. In that case, let's get started. So I have a 3-ton floor jack underneath the rear differential. Got the vehicle up way high, 19 millimeter. We'll take off both tires. Next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take off my rear brake caliper. It's just 2 10 millimeter bolts. You never wanna let the caliper hang by the hose, so I'm gonna zip tie it to a mud flap or something over there. All right, so with this bolt here, you're gonna buzz it loose with a 24 on this side and hold this nut with a 15/16. All right, axle nut, 36 millimeter socket. Wow, that came off really easily. All right, this bolt here we're gonna undo. On the back side, you gotta hold it with a 15/16 wrench again. It's also a 24 like the one on the top. Three, 1, 2, 3. 21 millimeter bolts that you have to remove. These 2 are going to be easy. That one's going to be not so easy. Oh, maybe this one's going to classify as not so easy too. All right, I'll be back. Now we're just going to go back to some Wesky bean power and see if I can mule this loose. I might know a lot, but I don't know everything. That old saying, you live and you learn. I'm living and I'm learning. I'm going to try to remove this 24 millimeter bolt to give us some access to that third 21 millimeter on the back, see if it makes my life a little bit easier. All right, you guys are going to love this. So this is why I'm labeling this video easiest method on YouTube. That saying I said before, you live and you learn, I just learned something on the other side. Whatever I was blabbling about with those 21 millimeter bolts, don't worry about that. So here's what you can do. Follow your ABS cord up and unplug it. It's right up in here, okay? Now, that 24 millimeter bolt that we loosened before, take it off all the way, okay? I'm gonna do that now. Okay, now that we have this 24 millimeter bolt out, and we have this axle nut loose, this whole thing drops down. Watch. Keep those together. You're gonna push this out, and all you're gonna do is pull this friggin' thing out, like so. Now, once you pull this out, look at that. This whole assembly comes out, and the axle shaft's totally loose. You don't have to mess with the e-brake. You don't have to mess with the 21 millimeter bolts in the back. You don't have to mess with any of that stuff. All these versions on YouTube was talking about, like, undoing those bolts in the back and undoing the e-brake hardware, and look at this. So now what we got to do is, I found the easiest way to pop the axle shafts loose is to take a metal pipe like this, and I'll bring you underneath and I'll show you what I do. Okay, here we are underneath the vehicle again. And I take this pipe and I put it bonk right there. And I just slap that with a metal mallet. Don't use rubber, you get the metal, because then the shock goes through the pipe. So I'm gonna reposition and let's give it a go. I already got the other side loose. Wow. Oh boy. I just sometimes want to lay underneath the truck like this. All right, well, once you knock it loose like you saw me do, the only thing left is to hope no gear oil comes out while you grab the axle shaft, give it a good yank. Look at that. Perfect. And no gear oil is coming out. Even better. Beautiful things. All right, so I'm back from Advance Auto. That was pretty painless. They took the warranty, no issues. My name was in the computer, we're good to go. So I got my new CV axle over here. I put a little bit of grease on the splines, a little bit of grease where the seal hits. That way we're not pushing it in dry. Fish it through the frame and then come up to the differential. You'll feel a splines lock. Then you just kind of hit it like a plunger and it'll start popping in. And then once it's flush all the way to the diff, you know you're good. Good, you hear that click? Bottomed out, we're good to go. So that one's done. We're gonna lift up on the knuckle, get our CV axle slipped in. Now if you have something like a trolley jack like I do, it'll make your life a lot easier. It'll help lift this up. How am I supposed to get that? Gotta make sure we get that arm back where it belongs. There we go. Get that in place. Spline slide into the bearing. Now this bolt has this little key. It goes into the lower control arm and holds it. All right, now we're gonna try to get maybe this top bolt in. All right, with that one started, now I can get my top bolt set in place. Beautiful. Thread this nut on. All right, then reverse of removal. For me, I'm just gonna buzz them down with my impact. They're huge bolts, so the impact should be fine. All right. Again, the change fell out of my pocket. All right, so once again, I'm gonna grease the axle nut itself on the back side of it. Just like head bolts in the engine, I don't like it when the nut binds against the metal. You get a more accurate torque when you're tightening it down. And same thing, I'll leave the axle nut torque in the description below. I don't ever listen to the book when it goes to axle nut torques. I always go a little bit less. I don't know, they wanted like 200 foot-pounds or something for the back of this. That just don't sound right. All right, so from the last time I recorded the last scene up until now, turns out that one of the axle shafts ripped the seal right out of the diff. So I had to go back and buy another diff seal. That was a conundrum in itself to try to remove part of the old one and install the new one. Nonetheless, I did it. I would have done both had I picked up on it. But you put your brakes back on like you saw in the last scene, and then I put the tire on, and then I don't let the vehicle down all the way, just enough so that the wheel holds it from moving. And then I'm gonna torque this down. All right. And it should be good as new. Another 12,000 miles and we'll be doing this again. Let's go for a ride. All right, so after all of that is done, I took the truck for a drive. It drives nice, and in the middle of driving, the front caliper locked up. So next episode is going to be how to replace your calipers on your 2006 to 2010 Ford Explorer. If you guys learned something today, great. If you didn't, I'm sorry. Again, I didn't really want to shoot this video. It was just kind of more of a watch me be miserable. But stay tuned for the next videos to come. I'll do the caliper video, and then I have a harmonic balancer video in the works. So that's it for today. Peace.